Hey pilots, Drain Man here, and today I have got a very exciting video. In today's video, we are going to build the 5-inch Vannystyle. This is by Vanover himself, and he spent an entire year working on this thing, 9 different revisions, and finally it is ready. And it is gorgeous. And I'm excited to build it. I'm going to build it exactly how he builds his. This is going to be an authentic Fanny build because, look at my shirt. I'm a Fanny too. I'm excited to build this. Let's go. Alright pilots, let's go ahead and dive into this build, but real quick before we do, I want to go over everything that I'm going to be using to build this quadcopter. First up, we have the frame. This is the Vannystyle 5-inch frame directly from the Vannystyle.com website. That is Alex Vanover's website. And you'll see real quick, he gave me a little note, and no, you can't read it. Next up, we are going to have for our stack, okay, this is important. This is what Vanover uses in his stack. It is the Kiss Ultra. This is the Mythical magical flight controller that doesn't exist anywhere. I've never seen one for sale online and haven't been able to buy one, and no, I won't tell you where I got mine, but this is it, the Kiss Ultra flight controller. All right, for our ESC, we're going to be using the Foxeer Reaper. This is the F4 ESC. It is 128K 32-bit 65 amp 3 to 8S ESC. This thing is powerful, it is fast, and it is sweet. I have not yet ran one, but I'm excited to do so because that's what Vanny the Manny runs in his. Now for our video system, because today's day and age we are now pushing the limits, I am going to be running the one and only Walksnail. Alright, and for that, I've got an Avatar HD kit, brand new in the box, not even opened. Moving on, we need our radio link, but first we need a radio, and I normally use the DJI radio. I mean, I've got a dozen radios here, but I wanted to get a new radio because I want to run ELRS and all of its glory, so I purchased this new radio here. I know, it's gorgeous. Look at that. So this is the Radio Master TX16S. Okay, I'm not done. It is the MK2 version. This thing was like almost 400 bucks. I did put my Thor in the back. It's got it built in, so I don't necessarily need it, but I'm stoked. Full color, full touchscreen, the works. AG01 gimbals, you name it, it's got it. All right, I'm going to be using this 2.4 Thor. It's by Access Flying, and I'm excited to try it out. Next up, for our powertrain, I'm going to be using the one and only Vanover Motors. And these are the 1860 kV motors. They are hot. They are beautiful, and they will match our blue theme that we have going on. Now, in order to take flight, we need propellers, and I'm going to run the one and only Vannystyle 5136 in Midnight Black Vanover propellers. And last but not least, we're going to need our 3D prints, and for that, I went ahead and hit up Brain 3D and got myself the full Vannystyle kit. Alright pilots, let's go ahead and get to work. So the first thing we want to do is get our frame out and set up. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that now. Woo-hoo! There we go. We've got everything laid out. We are ready to assemble this frame. Now, Vanny did introduce his frame to the world on his own video, and in that video he built the frame.
Alrighty, so we got all the pieces out for the frame, and I'm going to show you how to put it together.
So I'm not going to take the time to show you how to build this frame. What I'll do is I'll link that video for you down in the video description. So I'm going to go ahead and put this frame together, and then we'll go ahead and check it out. Looky here. So there's the frame built and ready to go. Holy cow, this thing is gorgeous, and it went together very, very simple. It is a sweet design. There's this sweet little puzzle piece right here in the middle, which allows you to replace the bottom plate without even taking off your arms. So very, very cool. The arms are 5.5 millimeters thick. That means they're nice, they're strong, they shouldn't break on every single little crash. In the back, you just have a single standoff. Most frames have dual standoff, I mean, for the most part. So I was curious to see what the solution would be to mount the antenna. Well, as you can see here, this is a great way to mount the antenna. This will go right here and hold your antenna. The problem with that is the Walksnail avatar holds 2 antennas. So either Brain 3D made a boo-boo, more likely I made a boo-boo when ordering, and I ordered the single antenna option. I didn't mean to, so I've got the 3D printer running right now. I'm going to go ahead and print myself one that holds both antennas on one, so I won't be using that. And then of course I've got my GoPro Mount Hero 8. That'll go right here, and that'll look absolutely beautiful just like that. So let's go ahead and grab our Reaper. I'm going to go ahead and cut this package open. And the Foxeer F4 Reaper is Vanny's first choice for an ESC, and holy cow, I can see why. Woo! That thing is gorgeous, and on paper, phenomenal. Alright, so with our grommets in and ready to go, I do just want to point out that this is the cable that we received to connect our ESC. I mean, come on, we couldn't get an option or two? I mean, just, you know, that's it. Hey, let's go ahead and pull our frame in, and what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and mount this, but what I want to point out is that this is the back and this is the front. In the back is where our avatar is going to mount, and Vanny has designed this to be snug and tight. It will fit, but it's going to be snug and tight. What that means is if I was to turn my ESC this way, I probably wouldn't have enough space to run my capacitor and or my XT60 cable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate it exactly backwards. I will turn it inside of the KISS GUI, that way my motor mapping is correct, but for the sake of this build, I'm going to actually install it backwards, and we're going to slide it on just like that. So the next thing I want to do is get my motor set up and ready, and as you know, we're going to be running the Vanny Motors, and they match the blue on our standoffs and everything just perfectly. I absolutely love it. I'm going to grab just one. I'm going to set it on top. Yeah, that looks good. Then I'm going to grab some screws, and we're going to go ahead and mount this guy. So I'm going to come from underneath. I'll use my driver, and I will press this. And I'm not going to snug that first one up yet because I want to make sure that I set the other side. See what I'm saying? There it is. And we're going to go ahead and now snug them. And I want to have a little bit of slack because I plan on pinning them to the arms. So I'm going to do a nice little swirl like this. And then I'll swoop in with my cutters. And I'll snip all 3 of them just like that. Alright. Then we're going to grab our strippers and we'll strip all 3. Wire strippers. And we will strip all 3. 1, 2, and I'll go ahead and tin these 3 wires, and now we're going to go ahead and tin the 3 pads that we're going to connect to, and that'll be 1. And I will say that about this ESC, these pads are nice and big and they're separated well. Some of these ESCs, the pads are so close together you don't know if you're soldering 1 or 2 pads at the same time. Drop it in. Then we're going to grab our second wire and we'll drop that in, and then we'll grab our third wire and we'll drop that in. Alright, I did consider putting some blue LEDs, but I also considered putting those little plastic protectors right here that you slide the wires through, but I noticed on Vanny's build he uses a little bit of electrical tape or a little bit of Maxwell tape and he'll wrap his wires. So I actually have some of that right here, and it's not electrical tape, so it's not all electrical tapey. It's just a special tape. I'll show you here. It's almost like a cloth. It's like a cloth tape. And I'm going to wrap around nice and snug. And you don't need much. Maybe just like one wrap. Something like that. Give it a cut. and then we tuck. All right, look at that. Now, normally you can just get away with one, but for the sake of looks and looking cool, I'm gonna put a second piece, and then I'll wrap that around. And I am pulling on it nice and tight, making sure that I'm staying snug. And there you go. That only took a second, and it looks really cool. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and grab the other 3 motors. I'm gonna get them mounted and soldered up, and then we'll meet back here. Oh yeah, there it is. Our motors are on and looking good. All of our solder joints are done, and as you can see, they are absolutely beautiful. All right, so the next step is going to be to take our flight controller, KISS Ultra. So let's go ahead and crack this puppy open. Inside we've got our flight controller, and if you've never seen a KISS Ultra, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use this container where I've got my pinout, and I'm going to match it to the pinout of my flight controller, and I'm going to just pull the pins and I'm going to put them where they need to go. Now I have a video on how to wire any 4-in-1 with any flight controller, and I'll link that video for you down in the video description, but that's what I'm going to go ahead and do now, is just depin these and set these up. Now, depinning, repinning, lining up, matching is never any fun, but it's part of the process if you're not buying like a stack that's already ready to go and belongs together, right? So, we've got it, it's done. I'm going to bring in my flight controller. I do need to make sure that it's upside down, and I'm going to go ahead and plug this in. Alright, so now I'm going to spin this around, and I'm going to plug this into my ESC. Alright, so with all 4 of our little standoff dealios ready, I can give this a spin or 2. That way my wires are nice and tight. We're going to look for that front arrow. It's right there. And this is the front, so I'm going to face it that way. And really it doesn't matter. You can alter the flight controller orientation inside of the GUI. But if you can just mount it and not have to deal with it, then why? So with our ESC and flight controller on and mounted, it's time to move on to our video system. I'm going to go ahead and crack this puppy open, and we're going to set up our Walksnail avatar, brand new, out of the package. Oh! Alright, let's grab our antennas, 1 and 2, and then we've got our wiring here. So to set up our avatar before we go ahead and mount it inside of the frame, we're going to want to connect both of our antennas. Now in order to connect our antennas, we have to open up this little plate. The good news is once you put this back on, you don't have to worry about your antennas falling off because they're actually held on by this plate. So if I was to go ahead and connect my antenna now, I would have no way to push this through anything. So I need to be mindful that I went ahead and printed my own mount, and in order to mount my antennas, I'm going to have to pass them through here first. So I'm going to go ahead and stick it inside, and then I need to push that in. Ooh, wow, that's a nice fit. Look at that. Woo-hoo-hoo. And then I'm going to grab my other one and I'm going to pass that through as well. Wow, that's nice. Okay, now we're going to use our tiny little itty bitty screws and we're going to put them back in. Alright, there we go. We've got it on and installed. The only complication is maybe later when I'm ready to bind, I may have a hard time accessing that button, but I'll just slide in something skinny, give it a little boop, and it should be the one and only time that I need to actually use it. Alright, so I'm going to slide a screw up from underneath, and it should go right in. So I've got one in, and let's get number 2 in, and that's really all I need. There you go. So I've got it snugged up and ready to go. You don't want it too tight because you don't want to put any stress on it, but you don't want it loose where it's going to be flopping around. So as you can see, it's nice and snug and tight. I'm going to go ahead and lift up my flight controller and I'm going to pass this wire underneath like that. There we go. I'm going to grab my capacitor. I'm going to put the ground on the ground side and the positive on the positive side. Now I need to make sure that my capacitor isn't going to hit my camera. So I'm going to go ahead and mount my camera now. I'll grab a screw, drop it in, and lock it down. So that is going to go right there. So let's take a look. If I mount just like that, you'll see that my capacitor is not a problem. Alright, so I'm going to grab a little bit of solder, nothing crazy, and I'm going to tin this. But not only am I tinning this, I'm also sealing the deal on my capacitor. So our capacitor is in and soldered. I'm going to lift it up just a little bit because I want to get in there and cut these extra leads. And I want to cut them as high as possible. So now it's time to go ahead and solder up our leads for our XT60. Now I'm going to go ahead and change out my solder tip, and I'm going to put on something a little more meaty because this is a pretty big joint. And if you were curious, I rock the Aikon FX 951. It is a beast. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and grab this positive wire and let's get her soldered up. Wow, that big old tip makes all the difference in the world. Whoo! That was almost easy because this tip is so big and beefy. Alright, I'm going to try running across there. Not my first choice, but... Alright, so our negative and positive, it gave us a hard time. And it looks a little funky, I know, but it's in and it doesn't matter. Nobody's going to know. And I won't tell anybody if you don't. And we can do a nice little test just to be sure. Just grab your multimeter, put it in continuity mode, and double check. Ground, positive. And as you can see, we're good to go. Now we're going to grab our wiring harness for our avatar. And we're going to go ahead and plug that guy in. Now we'll start with our positive and our ground. Very simple. We'll grab each one. So it'll be ground and positive. So we'll grab our ground and then we'll grab our positive. And there you go. So now we've got power to our avatar. Now we need to connect communication because this is how you get your OSD. This is how things like that happen. Now our gray is our TX, which means it's going to go to our RX. Now we have our RX, which is going to go to our TX, which is right there. All right, we'll set that aside. Now we're going to put our heat shrink in. Alright, so now we have our heat shrink on and our receiver is protected and safe. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is grab a little bit of double-side sticky tape and I'm going to go to the bottom just like that. I'm going to lift up those antennas and I'm going to put that underneath right there. That guy's going under. That's going there. And I'll zip tie that down. And I'm going to grab a zip tie. I'm going to grab a second zip tie. So pretty much the last thing we need to do is wire up our receiver. So I'm going to go ahead and twist these wires. And I'm going to bring them to about right here. And I'm going to cut them. Now let's go ahead and get our pads ready. Next up is our positive. Kaboom! Pilots! Woo! I'm excited. Now I want to toilet bowl this mother, because that's how he does it. So I'm pretty sure I gotta go in like this. Don't do me like this. Is it okay if I grab it with pliers? Yeah. There we go. Ooh, that's a strong strap. Titanium screw with blue. Dang, that's on there. Alright, now we're ready for our GoPro mount. Woo! Man, oh man. And that will plug in to my battery. And I'm going to go ahead and venture to say this quadcopter is done. Holy cow. Guys, look at the V. That V right there, that wasn't an accident. That's for Vanny. Look at this thing. Alright pilots, one quick disclosure. If you build the Vannystyle, it is very likely that you will become an astoundingly good pilot, because I built this frame and then I went to the spot where Vanny flew and check out my flight footage. No, that's not me. Come on, you guys know that's him. That's Vanny the Manny. Up next is my actual flight footage, but I hope that you guys enjoyed building this with me. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you on the next one. Here we go. Right there. I never crash with the Vanny. Oh. Oh. With the ESC, the motors just fit everything. It's It's just made to be. It really is. It is. I'm out. Woo!